Well, good morning, ladies. I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to week 2. Congratulations. I hear the groups went really, really well last week. And I hope you've really enjoyed your personal study with the Lord this week as we've looked at Revelations 1, verse 9 to 20. So, John is on the Isle of Patmos, where he's been exiled for witnessing about the Lord. And on the Lord's Day, he is in the Spirit, which basically means he's just spending time with the Lord, as we all do. And during that time, his quiet time with the Lord, he sees a vision of Jesus. And point number 1 is we see the number 7 a lot, and we see that Jesus is standing among 7 lampstands holding 7 stars, which he says are representative of his church. Now, John was called to write to 7 specific churches in Asia Minor, but the number 7 is a symbol of completeness, which means that it's a picture, and the messages that Jesus is giving him for these specific churches are also messages that we can take on board. These 7 churches were struggling. They were being very much oppressed by both the Romans and often Jews as well alike in those cities to not compromise. And that's the call, to encourage them in this time of persecution, because some of them were starting to compromise in order to avoid or reduce the persecution they were having. And Jesus is calling them to be faithful. But that message to the 7 churches is also a message to us that we're called to remain faithful, to not compromise. But did you see Jesus is standing amongst the 7 lampstands, which means that Jesus is standing amongst his people, because the church is not a building, it's his people. I mean, we've been in lockdown, haven't we? We've not been able to meet in person even for CBSI this year, and yet we're still his church. His worldwide church is not contained or defined by the building that we meet in. It's defined by the people who call him Lord. And so with Jesus standing amongst those lampstands, he's standing amongst us now. He is standing amongst his church at work in you and in me and in us worldwide. And that's really exciting. Number 2, we see this vision of Jesus, and there are lots of imagery that's being given here to help us see what John saw. But these images often hark back to stories in the Old Testament. And so what we see is Jesus in this beautiful, kingly, priestly robe, because he's our high priest. He's pictured with having white hair, because he's the Ancient of Days. He has blazing eyes that can see and therefore judge our hearts and our minds. His feet were like glowing bronze, representing the kind of purity that is only refined by fire. And he had a voice of rushing waters and a double-edged sword that came out of, because his words can both heal and save or judge. And he had a face like the sun, which means he was a mighty warrior that was fighting for his people. What amazing imagery of our risen, conquering Lord. And point 3 I would make this week is, did you see what Jesus said, his first words to his church in verse 17 and 18? Do not be afraid. I am the first and the last. I am the living one. I was dead, and now look, I am alive forever and ever, and I hold the keys of death and Hades. Jesus tells us not to be afraid, no matter what's going on. In the midst of everything, we can know his peace in the midst of everything, because we're reminded that God the Father is almighty, God the Son is all conquering, and God the Spirit is present, all present with each and every one of us. So my challenge or application for you this week is to think about, is there an area of your life where you experience fear? Or just it's constantly gnawing on you, it's constantly causing you to worry? What I'd say is, in your quiet times with the Lord, maybe write that down on a piece of paper, pray over it, and ask the Lord to give you peace about that situation. And then destroy it, get rid of it, and say, Lord, I'm going to place my trust in you. And then once you've done that, think about what is a specific action or a step that you could make that demonstrates that you're going to live in that new reality. Sometimes it doesn't mean that our circumstances have automatically changed. It doesn't mean it's suddenly being resolved because you've written it down and prayed over it, but it does mean that our attitude towards that circumstance can change. It means that our heart's response to that can change, because we're placing our trust in the Lord to help with it. So have a wonderful week. I hope you enjoy your study in your groups. Take care. See you next time.